I delved into the game theory rabbit hole, so to speak. And I've always thought it's interesting, right? Have you ever looked at game theory and you were like, "Oh, this stuff is cool." It's a cool name, right? Game theory. But you have no idea what it really means.
And then I read like a few like Investopedia and Wikipedia like pages, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Not really, but I
Yeah.
get what it's supposed to be. It's basically kind of like a social study of just how people behave in in basically sort of life. Like, why do people do what they do? Which is ironic because that was a previous episode in and of itself. But now we're going into the deep
The
stuff.
nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
Well, so technically it's defined as the strategic interaction amongst rational decision makers.
Okay, maybe I was a bit too far
Well, you're
because
basically there. You're basically there. You
yeah,
understand.
but we imply rationality, which go on TikTok and you'll just find out that not every decision we make is the most rational.
Yes. So, devoid of social media, people want to make decisions strategically for the benefit of their well-being, right?
Yes.
And game theory seeks to try to explain that, and it adds so much structure around stuff that we literally had no idea could be structured. So,
It gives every decision we have a like concrete purpose rather than just random.
meaning, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that we do has meaning as per game theory. So, let's say I wanted to go to the store so I could cook myself something for dinner because I'm hungry, right? That could definitely be explained by game theory in some way, shape, or form.
And what you buy can be based on like how much money you want to save. That's also game theory.
Exactly.
You could waste all your money, but like you're trying to come out ahead, so you're gonna like strategically be like, okay, I'm gonna buy what I want, limited to what I can afford.
Exactly. And on the other end, there's the people selling you whatever it is you're buying.
And they want to come out and hit on top, so they want to sell you as expensive as possible.
Right.
Which
That follows game theory.
it does. Apple is an expert at that. I'll tell you what.
So yeah, everything follows this structure, which is kind of nutty because when you think about it, literally everything around us
Is a game.
is a game.
Simulation theory.
Ah, but
shut your
anyways,
face.
anyways. So, have you heard of John Nash?
I have heard of him. Yes.
John Nash. So,
Mathematician.
A Beautiful Mind, the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was the first person that really brought it to the forefront. He's the one that kind of popularized it because of his work at Princeton.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole movie was about him basically being this genius mathematician and making groundbreaking results, work, whatever, in the field of math because of what he found to be these sort of equilibria that you can achieve.
That you can measure.
Yes.
With decisions being made.
Yes, exactly. As in, one big thing is the prisoner's dilemma. This is the most famous.
I've heard of it.
Thought
I've been
experiment.
told about it multiple times. I forget what it is.
Yeah, it's the most famous thought experiment in ever.
A quick rundown. What it is again?
Yeah, so basically there are two players. Let's say myself and you.
Yes.
We're both about to be incarcerated.
Unfortunate.
Now the way that this goes is the DA wants to prosecute us both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
I remember this.
Yes. So I can testify against you. You can testify against me. We can both testify against each other. We can both not. Basically, it's confess or not confess.
Yes.
That is the two choices you have. Now, if neither of us confesses, then the two of us
can walk out free, no? If both of you walk out free. If both of you refuse to talk, you'll both come out free. If one of you confesses and the other one doesn't, you walk out free and the other one gets like 15 years or something. And vice versa for the other one. And if you both confess, you both go to jail for like however many years.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes and no. So rather it's we both stay silent, we only get 1 year. I stay silent and you don't, and you confess against me, and then I get 3 years and you go free, and then vice versa. If we both
confess.
then we get 2. So logically, what do you think people would want to do?
I mean, when given the whole experiment, you would obviously say the smartest thing both of them to do, the optimal, is for neither of them to talk. But now comes the dilemma of, do you trust the other guy to think of like for the greater like good, or for what he thinks is the best? And it's like, you don't know. You don't know, because rationally both make sense. So
Yeah,
you're in a dilemma of sorts.
therein lies a dilemma. Exactly. So rational decision making in this case would actually yield that we both end up confessing,
Yeah.
and that is the quote unquote Nash equilibrium of this thought experiment. So in the end, the best possible outcome for us is to both serve 2 years in
Yeah.
prison.
The best outcome is not the ideal.
Or no, rather the most probable outcome. Not the
Right.
best outcome is
No,
for
no,
us.
of
Not.
course. The one that's most likely going to happen is not the best outcome. It's a worse outcome. Even though logically both of them would want the best, their rationality and their whole the way they're playing the game for their own self-interest is because now they're thinking they're thinking rationally for themselves in this game, that they both end up doing the least, not the least optimal, but a less optimal path.
Yeah, basically.
Silly.
So, anyways, that was a roundabout's way to kind of ask you, what do you know about game theory, aside from the fact that you literally are an econ guy, or used to be?
What do I know about game theory? I mean, I'm sure there were a bunch of formulas I was supposed to remember that I forgot.
Of course.
But the main point with game theory, as far as I can remember, is you want to have the best outcome. You want to look at all your surroundings. You want to look at all the variables given to you, and you want to calculate. I think we would call it utility in economics, but you want to calculate the highest utility, the most happiness you get, aka the best outcome that you personally want. And what sucks about these games is not every game is like this, but in the game of, living life, everyone is playing that game, and sometimes what someone's best outcome comes at the expense of your best outcome. For example, the prisoner's dilemma is a good example. Apple selling me a multi-$1,000 phone, even though every other phone doesn't cost that much, is another. Everyone's out. It's every man for himself. Kind of. You have different kinds of games. I think we're gonna mention co-op at some point.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're playing for keeps. You're playing to win.
Yeah. And so that's what zero-sum games are. Because either there's going to be one person that wins, one, or one person that loses, -1.
Yeah.
And one person that loses.
Yeah.
Right? There is no both of us win in zero-sum games. It's mutually exclusive.
Yeah. It's someone wins, someone loses. 'Tis life.
Yeah. So, okay, that's interesting. Did you ever have any kind of really interesting experiments in economics that kind of just showed you what game theory really means, especially on a macro scale? Because like micro doesn't utilize a lot of game theory, in my opinion. I don't know if that's a wise thing to say necessarily, but from what I know about microeconomics and a lot of the theory, I think it doesn't really necessarily apply that much, unless it's just individual people.
So microeconomics can be around, individuals themselves. Macroeconomics is thinking on a global scale. It's thinking about countries or huge groups of people acting as one.
Yeah.
I think like in the last few years or so, you can see there's this huge like emphasis on cancel culture, and it's like, what is cancel culture? You have these people who don't like something, and it's a little bit on the petty side, if I'm being completely honest, but it is what it is. Some people don't like things totally fine. But some people try to go out of their way to like stop it. Now, in their best interest, how do you achieve that goal? You know, and what they are doing is they're trying to make other people just as mad as they are. So, you know, not inherently provocation, but they're trying to convince you that what they hate is worth your hate. And, you know, they get enough people and scream loud enough, it starts to work, unfortunately. And you can see this is kind of one of those zero sum games. Someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. Either someone gets canceled and the petty people canceling win, or the people don't get canceled because nobody cares and they lose. So I think that's a pretty, you know, big scale sort of thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a social situation, right?
This is a social science. It's studying the decision making of people or entities. So
it's so weird too, because all of this is literally explained by math and numbers.
Of course, you know, once again, the assumption is rational behavior. That is a big, you know, air quotes assumption there, but it is like you can learn a lot from this, since most people with most decisions are thinking rationally.
Well, that's ironic too, because in a lot of strategic games, you want to actually throw in an irrational play every once in a while so that you can give yourself an edge.
Yeah.
You know, this is actually a thing in poker where a lot of really high level players, they'll do something that someone never expects, like bluff an extremely bad hand. For instance, like they know that they're going to lose money, but they do it anyway, you know, something that you just wouldn't do.
It's called playing the game.
Right? It's literally playing the game because they're giving themselves more spread across the, we'll say, what's the name of the graph? The
Bell curve?
distribution. Yes, the probability distribution.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving themselves more chances of attaining higher probability
in
outcomes.
the long run.
Yeah, exactly. By doing stuff that may not actually be in their favor immediately.
In the short run, yeah.
Yeah, so
it's all coming back to me. Economics. Long run, short run, supply demand curves. It's all there.
I'm so sorry. So anyways, those things are called non-cooperative games. Most of the things that are zero sum, the prisoner's dilemma, those are non-cooperative.
Of course.
Nash equilibrium in general occurs in non-cooperative games.
Of course. It's every man for himself.
Exactly.